Hello. Welcome, Noor and Lisa. Happy to see you, and thank you for taking time to do this interview. I hope the network members, as well as other researchers, can get you to know you better with this interview. And without further ado, I would like to ask you a couple of questions. And I would like to start with asking you about your plans for the network, as you are the new PhD representatives. So what do you want the network to achieve during the time in this position? And what do you think is the best way of enhancing cooperation between academics spread throughout the country? Maybe Noor can start?
So during my time in this position, I think I would mainly like to further include the PhD's voice and vision of the NNHRR. So therefore, I think I would like to get in touch with PhD students who are not currently a member or aren't aware of the network yet. And hopefully get them to join the network, but also get in touch with PhD students who are already a member of the network, and to see what they want from the network, what they expect from it, and what their ideas are. And so I think that the NNHRR provides a very useful bridge between the different faculties across the Netherlands. And I would kind of like to tap into that potential of collaboration. So I think that the best way to do so is to make PhDs meet each other during events, so they can learn from each other and to create like kind of bonds. Yeah, that was kind of my idea.
That is a great idea, especially with the events. I think that especially now in person, it really allows people to meet other people and also get inspired.
Yeah, definitely.
What about you, Lisa? Do you have something along these lines or any other ideas?
Yes, first of all, I totally agree with Noor. And I think it's also important because human rights research is everywhere. I also experience it now myself because I work at the notarial law department, doing my research in family law, and human rights research is also an important aspect of my entire PhD. So I think it's also important to also make not only the faculties aware of the network, but also the departments aware that there is a network, and that if you work with human rights or if you're interested in human rights, that you can also access the network to meet people. Because otherwise you're only within your own departments, and then you can't meet the others who might also work within the same topic as you.
That is correct. And what you're talking about already, the PhD candidates within the network or within your departments. But what about your own PhD journey? Are you excited about something in particular about it? Or did anything, for example, surprise you when embarking on this PhD journey? Or is there something you would like to know before even starting? Lisa?
Yeah. So that also connects to what I've said previously. But what I really like about my research, it's like super multidisciplinary, because I'm going to do some interviews. I'm currently working on a scoping review. So that's not very common in the law faculty, but mostly used by other disciplines. So that's what I really like the most, that I can just learn new research methods instead of just doctrinal research, which is also, of course, very important. So the mix really, I really like. And second of all, the human rights component is also very interesting. My PhD supervisor is a professor in international and European family law, so that also complements very well with my research. But I just started with my research since May, so I don't have any burdens yet. Who knows?
No burdens, but it is exciting that you're choosing another research method, and probably also exciting for new researchers and maybe for Noor as well. Are you excited about something in your research, Noor?
So I think what positively surprised me was kind of the amount of freedom that you can get during your PhD. So I guess there are a lot of ideas that you can develop yourself or projects you can start. And I guess also it's kind of in line with what Lisa said, that there's a lot of possibility. There are a lot of possibilities for a PhD student, and you can kind of make the experience very diverse. And that was very exciting for me. So you can not only like get a taste from academic life, but also try other new things, maybe like go abroad, go to conferences. So that was definitely something that I really liked. And I also don't, coming back to your question on whether there was something I wish I would have known before. I think the PhD gives you enough time to figure things out. So that you shouldn't really worry about those kind of things in advance. Yeah, that was kind of my idea.
That is good advice. It is a long journey, so
Yeah.
it's also very different for everyone. So since it is very different for everyone and your topics are very diverse, I would like to ask something about your specific research. And Lisa, before entering academia, you have worked in the Ministry of Finance doing something completely different. And how did you know you wanted to pursue academic career after all, or just start your PhD? And did you consider any other areas than family law before starting your PhD?
Yes, yeah. First of all, I think it's really good to experience also different areas of law, because what I found really difficult also during my studies is that in the beginning I didn't know what I wanted to do. Did I want to work in practice, or did I want to go into academia? So that's why I did 2 LLMs, so one in criminal law and one in private law, to also broaden my opportunities in that sense. And then I started to work as a lecturer at the Vrije Universiteit in Amsterdam in criminal law. And during that time, I really realized I also wanted to do a PhD, because I really like teaching. I still like it, but I really missed doing research, really gets into the content of law instead of going directly into the practice. Maybe that's also an opportunity for the future, but I really like that it's going so smooth from studies into a PhD, that there's no huge gap between those two, because otherwise you go directly into practice. And that's also really nice to do, I think. But for me, it felt more natural to work for a university and do research in that sense. Yes.
I understand. Yes, it must be very hard to finish academic life and go into practice and completely change your routine, but also very interesting.
Yes.
I guess a lot of researchers, but also young professionals and students are struggling with finding their way, whether they want to stay or go into practice and which area of law to choose.
Yeah.
And one of the interesting areas of law that Noor is pursuing now is researching is the right to protest and the intersection with the right to respect for private life. What in particular inspired you to pursue this topic? Did you perhaps take part in any protests? And if so, did you and the people around you were adequately educated about their rights?
So regarding your first question, I think so during my master's, I was already researching this topic and then specifically relating to anti-abortion protests at abortion clinics in the Netherlands. And when I researched it, it kind of struck me that it was really kind of a difficult situation in which various human rights can clash, and that the law did not really offer a very clear-cut solution. And that kind of got me thinking about like other situations in which these rights can clash, and whether I could maybe like bundle it in the context of a PhD. So that's kind of why I wanted to pursue it. And then I have not actually taken part in any protests myself, but I did like research the right to protest for several years, and it really interested me. But regarding whether people were adequately educated, I do still think that people are not adequately educated regarding the right to protest. Specifically, I guess a lot of people still think that they need permission to protest. Well, that's not the case, and there are more these kind of like rights related things that people may not be aware of, and I would really like to make people get acquainted more with the right and the scope of it. But also, for instance, you see that municipalities sometimes impose restrictions to demonstrations that are actually not allowed. So it goes both ways, and that's really interesting about my topic.
Yes, and it's really a problem now we encounter almost every month, and in the Netherlands as well. So
yeah,
interesting research topic that will be applied for sure. Okay, would you have anything to add to our network members or to fellow researchers?
Well, the only thing I want to add is just join the network, get to know each other, talk about your research, because I think you can also learn a lot from each other's research, especially if you have also different topics. It's really nice to also get to know what the other people are doing. So that's my advice.
Yeah, I definitely add to that people should definitely go to the events and get acquainted with each other. And also, it's not like the events of the NNHRR are very accessible, which makes it really nice. It's not like these big international conferences where you meet a lot of professors and stuff, but it's also really nice to get to know other PhDs. Yeah.
That is true. And all the events of the universities are listed also in our newsletter, which will be sent very soon at the end of this month. Okay, thank you, Lisa and Noor, for taking the time to answer these questions. I think it was a good start for further discussions on a bunch of interesting topics, and I look forward to working with you and to having you in the network. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.